Welcome to Crypto AM. After a nice summer break, we're back and raring to go, shining a light on personalities and projects in the Irish blockchain space.
Here's a look at what's coming up in this episode.
Moment where we were number one person in blockchain globally at some point in the last 12 months, which is kind of like, I mean, what does that mean?
The European gaming industry, they located here on the island, but they are still here, even though...
Currently we're in ICO. The ICO, as you can see, it's been suspended yesterday.
In our case, token is a purely proxy to our in-game currency, which is virtual chips.
The last 12 months have been interesting to say the least for anyone involved in crypto, and we're very happy to welcome to the show two of the world's leading ICO advisors, Simon Cocking and Reuben Godfrey, giving us their insights on their experiences and what's happening next. Simon Cocking and Reuben Godfrey, thanks very much for joining us here on Crypto AM. I just really want to kind of touch on the last 12 months and what sort of a roller coaster ride it's been for both of you and for crypto in general. Can I start with you, Simon? Can you give us a sort of an account of your 2018 or this year's journey?
Sure. Yeah, look, I mean, I think in some ways it's more that the market and the whole, like, people called it crowdfunding 3.0. So I think it's about that it's been growing up a lot in the last 12 months. So obviously, I mean, Reuben and I will have a lot of personal experience of seeing what's happened over the last 12 months. But I think, you know, like when crowdfunding, Kickstarter, Indiegogo first came along, people thought, if I have any idea, I can get it funded. If I want a rainbow-colored chocolate bar, you know, it'll happen, a whisper or something. And then the reality kicked in after a year or two that just because you have an idea, it's not enough to get money. But in the ICO world, you could say that probably 15 to 12 months ago, you know, if you had the white paper and the idea, you might raise 30 million. So obviously here we are in that post landscape where reality has kicked in. So I think what we're going to talk about is part of a bigger picture of the fact that, you know, this was a very exciting area and it's a great way to raise money fast. But at the same time, you know, in the Wild West, there was a lot of bad as well as good. And I think that's what we've seen over the last 12 months. And I think now we're in a position where you can filter scams faster and it's a fast buck. And I think a lot of what we'll talk about will reflect seeing I guess, hear what Reuben says, you know?
Yeah, well, actually, I guess myself and Simon, we know each other pre-crypto. So we actually, funny enough, it's changed a huge amount. My own involvement in it, I suppose, when there's no regulation, you try and keep your own moral compass somewhere, you know, that you can work to your own self-regulation. Myself and Simon, like I say, we actually played Ultimate Frisbee together, and there's one of the cores of, and it's kind of interesting, but aside, but one of the cores of Ultimate is the spirit of the game. So it's like there's no referees when you're playing that sport, and everything's kind of self-governing. And if you're kind of basically, if you're not playing within the kind of the right spirit, you won't really be around too long. I think there's sort of some element of that probably is evident in how myself and Simon have both been comporting ourselves. It hasn't been easy.
I think a good example of that would be, say, ICObench, where very early on we could see that it would be very problematic if you were to take money to give certain things a certain review. So therefore, both ourselves and then also the writers who did reviews for us, I was saying, you know, far better to have don't review something that has paid you to shill it up, because that's a very short-term strategy that is just going to bite you in the bum. And so I think that's a particular example where we had an idea of what was best practice, perhaps before some of the organizations themselves. I guess the thing is, if in anything you do, if you put numbers on it, people will try to game the system. And I think that was very evident that you could see it was going to happen fast. And like Reuben said, you know, it's smart to try and think ahead of what is a good way to do things and what could come back and bite you.
Yeah, well, would it be fair to say that both of you approach it from a long-term, like you've been involved for a long, long time and you're playing a long-term game. I don't suppose either of you are in it only to make money fast, but you also see potential social benefits, etc., from this kind of technology.
I think myself and Simon are kind of both sort of from outside, and we both kind of came in through the same door, I suppose, by just through sort of academic curiosity, if you want, or journalistic curiosity. Like for me, I think we both early enough, we both heard about Bitcoin, both interested in it as a concept. For me, again, like I'm supposed to be teaching I was offered a job in UCD this time last year, University College Dublin. I was supposed to be teaching in the business school there, which would have been kind of a dream job for me. But I kind of took the view that that whole ICO thing that we've just gone through is only going to happen once. It's a very unique time in history, and I'd rather be involved in it in some way, shape, or form. I'd rather be the worst player on the pitch than the best guy in the pub watching it on TV. You know, and that's So I think a lot of it's been learning. I think one of the big kind of misconceptions, I suppose, about us, I'd be interested to hear what you say, Simon, but this idea that, you know, okay, you're an advisor. Now, both myself and Simon, I got there before you, Simon, but you blasted past me and eclipsed me. And we talked about ICObench being, we both had profiles on there. I think you may still be up there. We both had the moment where we were number one person in blockchain globally at some point in the last 12 months, which is kind of like, I mean, what does that mean, you know? And I mean, from the first project I got involved in was giving advice on sort of sales and strategic sales, which is something I can speak with authority on. That's what my whole career has been in that. And then it kind of the message somewhere along the line got diluted over the last 12 months that if you have 4 of the top 10 ICO advisors on your panel, that they will suddenly now. Are you getting lots of requests, Simon, these days for investor introductions? I don't know where it said that I have a big list of you know, millionaires in my pocket. I don't. You know what I mean? I'm a normal guy from Dublin.
Yeah. It should be advisory and not, you know, investor introduction, is that?
Yeah, but I mean, saying advisor is like saying footballer. You know what I mean? What position do you play? What do you do? What role do you take in the team? I would never purport to be giving legal advice or regulatory advice. A lot of the advice I've been giving is about what advice they should be looking for, if that makes sense. Yeah,
but back to ICObench, and I know you delisted yourself from ICObench. You're still up there, Simon, are you?
Yeah, look, I don't look at this very often, but the last I looked, I am ranked number 1.
Well, I do get the impression that they've you know, cleaned up their act a bit. That it's there seems to be a lot more faith or a lot more stock in those rankings than perhaps.
I think they realised that they had to, because if they didn't, and if the ratings and the rankings are just based on paid-to-play rankings, then they destroy their own brand and their own value. And I have said that to them. And, you know, equally, you know, like on one hand, it's great for profile and it's great to have leads come in. But on the other hand, you know, there's a bunch of companies that are listed, but they're not really doing anything. And I don't really want to get involved in rating and ranking things that are, you know, ideas on the back of an envelope. So, you know, I think it's got better. But I think this is what I'm saying. If we look at the last 12 months, the whole market, the whole ecosystem is growing up, has to grow up. But along the way, there's been people kind of being quite opportunistic about it. But like you say, with the long-term play, if you look at startups, you know, only 1 in 10 startups make it. And so in some ways, this is probably what's going to happen with tokens and tokenomics is, you know, there's a very high attrition rate and many tokens did an ICO and then they're not really worth much afterwards. And I think the classic challenge is who's going to actually use your token and why they're going to use it. And if they can't really address that, and like Reuben says, these are areas you can advise in because it's about network and community. And, you know, blockchain is good for this. And if they can achieve this, it will work. But if it's just hype to be the next biggest X, Y, or Z, then no one's going to use it because there's just too many people selling these big empty promises.
Yeah.
So sorry, go ahead.
For me, like when I did take my name off ICObench. There's a couple of reasons. I think that the volume. I mean, I guess for me, I saw the opportunity to bring into the space who weren't traditionally in ICOs or involved in crypto, and so when I got asked something about, like I say, illegal or regulatory or something to do with real estate or something else that's beyond my own remit. It was like, okay, well, let's have a look within my network and whose brains can I pick for this? And there's the temptation is to try and scale, and I think everyone wants to, like, make hay while the sun shines in one shape or form. So it's like, let's scale, let's get become an ICO consultancy business or something like this. And then suddenly there's, mushrooming of these ICO service providers. And it's like everyone's kind of offering a sort of templated, if you do X, Y, and Z, then you will get, whatever A, B, and C. And it doesn't, I think anyone, there's a few things, I guess anyone that's said that they're an expert over the last, I've been adamant with anyone that sort of puts that label on me is that I'm not an expert at all. I know what I know, but I'm absolutely massively deficient in other areas. I would never pretend to be a technical expert. I would never pretend to know. I can't build you a blockchain. You know what I mean? And that's never been my interest in it. I've been, hand on heart, I've been interested in Bitcoin. Blockchain came along. The technology is absolutely fascinating. When Ethereum came around with this concept of crowdsourcing, it's absolutely fascinating. And like I say, the evolution that's taken place in the last year, it would have, who knows, I'm looking at white papers now that are 360 degrees, that's the same direction, isn't it? 180 degrees away from where they were, previously, or like 6 months, a year ago. Tokenomics models, anyone that says they're a tokenomics expert is fundamentally wrong. They're either naive or deluded, or, there's no such thing. Every tokenomics, or every token that's issued on Ethereum, for example, how many, I was laughing at this today on the way in.
Yeah, so look, I'd just like to say that, to any of our viewers who are token experts, that's obviously not aimed at you.
Well, it kind of is. Stop calling yourself a token expert. No, it is, absolutely. Anyone that's watching this, if you consider yourself a tokenomics expert, get off your high horse and, seriously, stop living in a bubble. Because
Simon Cocking, Ireland's #1 token expert. What do you have to say about that?
He says, I'll tell you, Simon, don't start calling yourself a tokenomics expert. No, he wouldn't either. We know each other well enough. But look, so my point being that 97 or 98% of tokens are down on what people invested at ICO. So your tokenomics are, you're wrong. So investing in this, and I know you can't. How many dApps are there up and running on Ethereum, for example? Despite all the massive investment into Ethereum, it's still kind of a ways off actually going live. So, if you don't have a live token, if you don't have a utility token that's actually being used on a live dApp, then you don't have anything that's really of value. So the whole token issuance has to be looked at.
I think that's what it comes back to, though, is usage, and will people actually use it? Does it actually perform something that's of value? And this is why people do compare it to the Internet 1.0. That there was a lot of stuff, and some of the things were good ideas, and some were bad, and everybody thought that everything could work. But quite quickly, the market determined by the ones that people kept using. They kept using search engines, they kept using some things, and the rest all are by the wayside. And I think that's the bit that is the communication where people say it's all a scam, whereas it's not all a scam. There are some really good things doing really good projects. And those are the ones to try and filter through and look for, like the ClearPoll, who are doing polling, like the medical records ones. There are ones that are doing smart things, and they're good. But over the, before, how it was, because before Christmas last year, the taxi drivers are talking about Bitcoin, and it becomes a gold rush, and everybody thinks if they don't get on board now, they're going to miss out. And, it was like a South Sea bubble, story, like tulips, all of that. And now I think, though, we're like, the good ones have survived, that they're at much less value than they were, but they're being used. And this is the Darwinian period now. What's actually going to be used, and the ones that are being used are the ones that are going to persist. So with the tokenomics, while on one hand, I don't really want to be Nick Ayton's a good guy. He does a lot about tokenomics.
But Nick Ayton will also slam people like us who call ourselves advisors and don't know about how to build a blockchain. So, hey, Nick.
But what I'm saying is that, he will still say that you've got to use it. If people aren't using it, then the economics are built on nothing,
So that's the next. That's the crucial next step. Then I suppose is it before we had people coming in to try and make money. Now we're going to see people actually using this technology day to day.
Which follows the whole curve of the hype, doesn't it? Things get very hyped, and then you go down into the valley of despondency, and then people start having use cases. And I think we are hopefully on that bit now.
Yeah. What is it?
Reuben.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was going to say, look, I mean, one of the issues I've seen, I guess, is people who are essentially trying to invent a market and talking about building community and saying, if we do this, then the community we have built around this project. I mean, look at EOS is a nice one. You know, and people are investing ideas and in ideals rather than in actual rather than actual businesses. And I don't mean like a business idea or business plan or business or revenue forecast. I mean actual up and running businesses. So I think what we're going to see a shift from people building the brand new economy to looking at how we can actually do the faster horses. And that was the thing I kind of railed against before is, you know, but it take like, say, a city bus provider, where you have thousands and hundreds of thousands of people using the service weekly. And think about Dublin Bus. Why not them? They have their community already built. They have they've digitized their you know, if they can have a token that works in the back end that saves them trouble, stays in the ecosystem, and they're not looking for it to increase in value, and you know, or any. So when you look at, say, online communities of gamers, I think they're already using digital currency. They're already sold on it. You don't need to kind of tell them that, oh, it's going to be a cryptocurrency. They don't care. It's in-game currency. It doesn't really matter. So or like with gaming, online gaming, we were looking at, say, gambling sites, for example, that again, your people are used to using tokens. In casinos, you use tokens. So these things, I think people have been kind of going about it a bit sort of arse about face, you know. It's like build this big, beautiful ecosystem and expect people to want to live there, when let's go to where they're living already and sort of work with their community that they have already and figure out if we can kind of provide the solution to them, as opposed to doing it, just completely.
It doesn't help either that the governments are being sort of standoffish and waiting to see what other people are going to do. I mean, it should really be.
It does help.
Does.
I mean, it does help. I mean, it allows kind of grey areas, or allows sort of cracks, and you know, water will always find the lowest point, sort of thing. So it's allowed for people to develop or innovate without massive oversight from governments. So if it had been fully regulated,
you're never going to get mass adoption unless, you know, the government go in behind it.
This is my other big problem: is everyone wants to, you know, say they're looking at Bitcoin and saying, the amount of times I've heard in the last year, this is like Bitcoin but better, and it's like, well, what, you invented in 2007 or what? Like, and you can't be better than Bitcoin. Bitcoin is Bitcoin, and so people are going in trying to kind of compete and looking at stuff like, we're going to you know, attack the global retail industry, and we're going to reinvent. And it's like, come on, man. Like, I mean, if you could, you know, if you're looking at, say, like Dublin under 10s football, or like, you know what I mean, or something that has a community of 20,000 people that run leagues or something like this, awesome. Put it into there, make it work there, and if it's that good, then there would be a network effect and it'll spread out. But everyone's kind of trying to take over the world. You know, it's like, this is a technology that can revolutionize the globe. So that's what I'm aiming for. You know, and I want to be. I'm going to take over. I guess
what's happening though is that people are moving from that, and so when you talk about EOS, you know, this is the format wars element. That, you know, will it be EOS? Will it be Ethereum? Who can do it?
EOS.
But they've each drunk their own Kool-Aid, but the challenge will be is who actually uses it. And so, like you say, I think, or none of them. Sorry.
Yeah, it could well be none of them.
Yeah, but so for the user just wants it to be seamless and fast, and whoever delivers that service, they don't care really, unless they own stocks in one or other, and most people don't. Most people just want a seamless day as they go through the day. Just they want things just to work, and therefore, like you say, if it's a Dublin under 10s and somebody has the right solution and it's a tokenized blockchain-based thing, it will work. I think we've gone beyond. Or hopefully this is the last year and beyond, if going forwards, we've moved beyond this one pill will solve everything, rather than this particular thing I've built fixes this need here. And that's when it will get used. And it will only get, you know, because like with Groupon was grand for a while, and then they couldn't manage it. They couldn't deliver what they were selling. And therefore everyone went, well, look, fuck you. I don't care what your technology is. The service is shit. I'm going somewhere else. And so I think the trouble is like I saw someone at a talk today and the slides were up and they were saying, you know, there's Bitcoin is so much more than blockchain is so much more than Bitcoin, and that's almost like a meme you could print and stuck in the internet 3 years ago. So you know, I think we're finally moving beyond the trite cliches into actual working use cases. And when we have that, then the market will fragment down to micro solutions, which incidentally happen to be tokenomics. And I think, but no one, like, here's the other thing.
You heard it here first, Reuben.
Thanks.
But so here's the thing. The problem has been for the last 2 or 3 years, you can play crypto bingo with mainstream media. And so my mum will do these cuttings from the Telegraph and stuff going, Bitcoin is a fragile, it's tulip, it's volatile. Oh, I'm very worried you're working in cryptocurrency. And the trouble is that obviously there's several thousand tokens out there, but that's a more complex story to write about. So what's been happening is it's been massively simplified down into the pizza's bought with 10,000 Bitcoins.
Yeah, the mainstream media is overwhelmingly negative, and the crypto-focused media is overwhelmingly positive, and like.
So yeah, somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere in the middle, yeah.
Yeah, but again, this is the classic model where you have the early adopters, the evangelists. But when it's going to grow, you need to go beyond those early adopters. You need to get to people that just want to use it because it's better than what came before. And we're still on the bleeding edge of that. You know, it is still bleeding edge because it's still difficult to buy crypto. It's still all the KYC. It's not in the back end. You still have to find the documents and do everything. So, you know, until we make it easier, seamlessly unnoticeable, then, you know, but on the other hand, this is the joy. And because Reuben a while back on Facebook, maybe 4 or 6 years ago, called himself Satoshi Nakamoto. And most people didn't even know who that was, you know? So,
yeah, no, I did that to see who knew what, but nobody did at the time. No, that's the whole
Are
thing.
you Satoshi Nakamoto?
Definitely not. No, absolutely not. I'm actually, interestingly enough, been targeted quite a bit recently. So now my name is.
He could be Irish though. He could be the dude who taught me at Trinity. You know, PhD in cryptography.
Yeah, he laughs about that.
He walks among us.
Yes, he's Irish.
She,
yeah, of course.
No, but like, so I think there's, again, we talk about there's going to be other big, huge profile, massive failures before there's massive mass adoption. So the likes of like EOS, I mean, I think its days are numbered. There was a kind of a cynical cash grab by the board there in the last few days. They all just left.
You see, a month ago they were saying that EOS was the Ethereum killer.
So exactly. There was so much promise, and then things are changing on a daily basis. Like
Ethereum is quite capable of killing itself. I think at this point, you know, it doesn't need any help. Like the Ethereum price for any businesses built on Ethereum. Honestly, one of the things that's kind of killed the whole space is people speculating on with Ether and thinking that, you know, it's on Coinbase, therefore it must be something like Bitcoin, and it's just not. And it has different attributes. You know, there's an infinite supply, all these things. And yes, there's going to be a use for it within the Ethereum kind of ecosystem, but that's already coming under stress. So people who are investing in it speculatively, like coming up to Christmas, and it was over, how much was it, 1,500 or something?
Yeah, grand, 1,200.
That sounds about 10% of that. So anyone who is raising, so here's the kind of, you know, so Ethereum has done so much good, but it's also potentially like been the single biggest detractor from actually having sensible sort of slow growth is the fact that, you know, everyone just pumped everything into Ethereum. Now, so when you're raising an Ethereum, if you're doing an ICO and you raised 10, 20 million at Christmas time, it's worth 10% of that now in the real world, you know. Yeah. So this is the whole thing. So Ethereum is potentially the most dangerous thing to happen in the blockchain space. Now, fantastic, you know.
Controversial, Reuben.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, controversy, huh?
But I guess it's because also... Well, I think it's because things, you know, like Ether, for example, can go up or down 10% in a day. So on one hand, like I can do a lot of talks explaining why cryptocurrencies are stronger than fiat and less volatile, if we talk about Venezuela or Zimbabwe. But on the other hand, we go and look at Ether, and Ether actually undercuts, like Reuben says, the validity of the value of what it offers when its own value is going up and down by 10% a day. So it is still...
It's the speculation that's undermining it as opposed to the actual...
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's speculated, but I mean, again, kind of coming into the Bitcoin space or into the cryptocurrency space with an offering like Ethereum and not having some sort of mechanism that disincentivizes speculation, So that's, I don't know. Look, I'm not a computer scientist. I don't have all the answers. All I can tell you is my observations on it. And yeah, I think Ethereum is perfectly capable. It doesn't need EOS to kill it. People would say that Ethereum is just like a beta version of EOS anyway, and it was released with sort of fewer functions. I mean, that's the sort of generally accepted view that Ethereum is not that strong. Lisk is interesting. Rootstock, I think, is very, very interesting. But again, there's a few platforms that are interesting. Hashgraph, do we touch that box of can of worms? Like so other distributed ledger technologies that aren't blockchain that are going to be potentially interesting. But yeah.
So these are the format wars that we're still in. And if you look at previous technologies, it took maybe 20 years or 10 years to go through, whereas we're going through this cycle in 3 to 6 months' time. And like in 2 years' time, we'll look back and go, oh, sure, it was obvious which one was going to come through. But it's still important to remember how fast the evolution time is now. It's just so much faster.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, interesting times. Like, and I suppose last 12 months have been a bit of a roller coaster. The next 12 months, probably a bit more of the same. But look, let's catch up again.
It'd be less of a roller coaster, more one of those, those ones where you creep up slowly and then just free fall. There's more like one of those.
Ones that make you puke.
The funfair ride for sure, but probably.
No, you mean base jumping.
Base jumping is going to be like free base jumping.
All right. Okay, on that analogy then, listen, thanks a lot for sharing your thoughts with us. We'll catch up again soon. All the best.
Awesome.
All right.
As crypto seemed a perfect fit for online gaming, we caught up with Andrey Kuznetsov, CEO of KamaGames, about their plan to use tokens for in-game purchases.
KamaGames is the largest social poker in Europe and the third or the second biggest in the world. So we grew pretty decently in 2016 compared to 2015. I think it was around 36%, and then we grew again 2017 to 2016 on another 63.4%. And we hope to grow this rate this year again, and we may become number 2 in the world.
So when you say social poker, social gaming, what is the difference there? What does that mean?
The main difference is that all our games are completely social, so there is no real money involved. You cannot win neither money nor something of value. Comparing to, for example, PokerStars, which is a pure real money game, and people are playing for real money, and of course such companies require licenses and allowed only in certain jurisdictions.
So this is the gaming industry that you're involved in, not the gambling?
Yeah, we are a part of a social and mobile gaming industry.
You're moving into the blockchain space now. You're with a token sale?
I would say that we are touching the waters. So we are not fully moving to the blockchain so far because of a number of reasons, and mainly technical reasons I can mention before. But the main goal for us is just to see how it works and to see how our existing players and new players are interested in this.
So how would this token sale differ from, say, an ICO?
So the main goal for an ICO is obviously to raise funds for a crypto or blockchain project, but not only. In our case, token is a purely proxy to our in-game currency, which is virtual chips, which can be spent only within our games.
As of now, people purchase these chips using fiat currency.
Existing players and our regular players, they normally buy chips via Apple or Google or Facebook or many other platforms we have. They can also buy chips on our website for the fiat currency, obviously. But in terms of token, we are giving players a new way of payment, cryptocurrency. So we do not yet have it as a permanent method of payment. And I don't know if we could have it near time soon because of some regulations and you know, the space is still young, but and we are sustainable business and audited company based in Europe. So we have a number of issues we need to deal with. But before we do it and start like complicated things, complicated works in that regard, we decided to try to provide a temporary solution for our existing and new players to buy token with a cryptocurrency and to see how it works.
Do you think there's an appetite for this kind of thing within the gaming sort of community? Or?
We believe so, because we think that our audience, and by the way, our audience is pretty wide. So it's anybody from 18 to 65 and 70 years old, and token as well is a way to get our virtual currency for the best possible rate, for the best possible price. And we think that it's also very attractive, both for existing and new users.
You mentioned some technical problems around getting on the blockchain.
Yes, from time to time we were asked if we can do a fully blockchain game. And we would be happy to consider, and I think we will, but at a little bit later stage, because currently we face three main difficulties. The first one is we have up to 25,000 concurrent players. So in any given moment, 25,000 people are playing, and which actually brings us to the up to 1.5 million transactions per minute. And we do not yet know any existing blockchain which can allow, which can deliver such big number of transactions per minute. Then secondly, obviously, we need to think about commissions. And some blockchains have them, some not, but still it's a decent question for us, because normally players within our game don't pay as much as they pay in real money gambling products, and we probably won't be able to cover all these commissions at the rates where they are now. And the third thing is real money RNG generator, so a random number generator, which actually, if we put it on the blockchain, we believe that it can get predictable, at least at this time. So we're sure that there could be some solutions in the future, and we are waiting for them. But for now, we believe that it can be predictable. And then secondly, if we don't put it on the blockchain, then someone will definitely tell us that, guys, you're not fully decentralized. Yeah, these are the main reasons.
So you're based in Dublin. Obviously, you have offices abroad as well. But could you tell me a little bit how you came to set up here?
The main reasons were it's a tech hub in Europe, English speaking, with common law, with a lot of tech talents, and with almost all our main partners here, such as Apple, Google, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Microsoft, and they are all here. And of course, Ireland has good tax policies for, and in our case, it was also a benefit, but not the main one.
Could you see more gaming companies setting up in Dublin, or indeed Cork or Galway?
By the way, good point. Cork and Galway and some other cities, they are getting more and more attractive. And I even know some tech companies, not especially gaming companies, which are choosing these locations because prices in Dublin are getting more and more expensive, commercial and residential. So I think soon we will see more and more companies going there. But coming back to gaming companies, I know some, and I know that some are coming, and basically companies from all countries. So and from Eastern Europe and even from France. I'm sure we'll see more.
Thanks for coming in to talk to us today, Andrey. It's a really interesting project you've got here. How can our audience get involved with KamaGames?
Of course, anyone interested in our project can go to KamaGames.io and to see all the details and all the instructions how to participate in us. And please remember that we're not doing it only for our profit or our revenue. We are also endorsing cryptocurrencies and blockchain to over 100 million players we have registered. And we believe that it can be really good thing and step from our company to the industry going forward.
That sounds really great. Thanks for coming in. I hope to have you in here again in the future.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me here. And we'll hope to share very positive results with you in the future.
And now we turn to Malta. In advance of the first Malta Blockchain Summit, I had a Skype call with Dennis Avorin on why Malta is now called Blockchain Island.
It just seems like it's all happening in Malta at the moment. Every time, almost every day, I'm reading a new news story about crypto or blockchain, big developments that's happening in Malta. So what's it like on the ground over there?
It's a lot of activity, to say the least. I mean, earlier this year, of course, we had Binance and OKX announcing their relocation to the island, and since then, it's been a steady stream of other companies looking to relocate. I have on my personal LinkedIn, it comes in every week, crypto exchanges, blockchain application developers, all kinds of people who are looking for advice on how to set up shop on the island, basically. And this is all building up to the Malta Blockchain Summit, which is going to be like the epicenter of all activity this year in terms of blockchain in Malta.
So you're building an ecosystem over there, and what is the honey that's attracting all these enterprises to Malta?
It is the new regulatory package that the parliament has passed, and it's going to launch this autumn, and basically giving companies active in the DLT crypto space peace of mind to operate their business legally in a regulated environment. That means regulating how to do ICOs, providing definitions on what a virtual financial asset is, and all these facets of regulating.
Who was the brains behind that, or how did that happen?
I mean, Malta has always been a very forward-looking jurisdiction in this sense. Malta was first with regulating online gaming in 2005. So the country is well adapted to take on these like terra incognita when it comes to regulation. And with gaming, it went extraordinarily well. Most of the European gaming industry, they located here on the island, that they are still here, even though many other countries have launched regulations as well over the past 10 years. And now Malta is doing the same thing in the blockchain space.
Next up, we have Iulien Anghelin from Bitsong, the world's first decentralized music sharing platform.
Yeah, Bitsong is legally based in Malta. We are operating from here. We opened our first office over here. So all the boarding team is here. The decisions are taken by here, from here.
So you are you've reached your soft cap in your ICO, but your public sale is still ongoing. How has it been going for you?
Yes, we had the chance to have a very successful pre-ICO. We reached the soft cap in the first 72 hours.
Wow.
We released very good bonuses in that phase, and investors just took the opportunity to invest in Bitsong. Currently, we're in ICO. The ICO, as you can see, it's been suspended yesterday.
Okay, why was that?
We are doing improvements to the financial and technical areas of the project. Actually, we are going back to the beginning, because we started with a concept, but due to the market conditions, to the many events that happened, we went a little bit out of our concept, and without getting major improvements. So we decided to get back to the beginning, and using new technologies and new tools to bring the best conditions for the investors and for all those participants that will take part in Bitsong.
Okay, good. Well, I mean, I think the fact that you're willing to make, tough decisions when you need to is it can only be a good sign. Can you fill us in a little bit about what the problems with the technology were and why you went back to the beginning?
Actually, we're not technology problems. We were going to still run the ICO on the Ethereum blockchain, but we will emigrate from Ethereum after that. We will be based on our own blockchain. We're still deciding which blockchain is going to be more adapted for the Bitsong platform.
Yeah.
We will give all the news and all the updates in the next event that's going to be here in Malta, the Malta Blockchain Summit.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot tell you right now all the news and all the change, but
great.
Our supporters and our users are going to have the possibility to follow us live on the Malta Blockchain Summit, or some of them who have the possibility to join us at the event. We're going to publish all the news over there.
Great. Okay. Now, I just wanted to touch on a couple of things. I suppose once you start building your product and testing your product, the actual Bitsong streaming service, decentralized music streaming service, how far are you into that project?
So it's going to be, as I told you, it's going to be a streaming music portal, but not only, similar to Spotify, but not the same thing, because we matched videos to streaming and the merchandising of the songs. So it means that we will be a kind of Spotify, YouTube, Deezer, iTunes all together.
Okay.
Right? So we will offer the possibility to users to exploit our platform in such different ways. Currently, the platform is in development. We are choosing, as I told you, which blockchain is more adapted to our setup.
Mm-hmm.
The app it's 75% up to be ready. We plan to launch the alpha version of the app in the first quarter of 2019.
You're on track for that, even though you're having to restructure a little bit?
Yeah, the first quarter of 2019, we're going to be full of news, we're going to open another office in the northern side of Europe, and we will launch the alpha version of the platform. So the Bitsong, the BTCG token, we're going to be already operative.
Okay.
We're going to be put into the transaction. We're going to be used for the transactions on the platform.
Okay. Well, listen, I wish you best of luck with the continuing. I can't wait to use the Bitsong streaming platform when it's out. We'll stay in touch. This episode has been made possible by our sponsors Bitsong, the world's first decentralized music sharing platform.
Big thank you also to the team at D-Light Studios Dublin for hosting us today. As always, check out our YouTube channel Crypto AM for long-form interviews, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time.